All right, let's be honest, everyone. That race was shit. We're gonna keep this one pretty brief. We're doing the debrief.
What race?
Yeah, we're doing the debrief of the Japanese Grand Prix. In all honesty, we both fell asleep multiple times during the race.
Unironically.
Literally, we both said we were messaging and saying we both fell asleep. And like normally that's not a big deal because the races are about 11, 12 at night, and it's like, you can fall asleep, that's fine because you're supposed to fall asleep that time. The race was at 3 p.m. for us, so
On a Sunday.
on a non-weekday. So there's a couple of things we'll talk about here, but if you watch the race, you know what happened. There was some tire offset strategy stuff that didn't really amount to anything. Red Bull were fast, Ferrari were pretty fast, particularly in race trim. Everyone else kind of struggled. There you go. Sonoda got a point. That was nice. Good for him. Hey, congratulations. Points at his home race. You said you had a couple of points. I wonder where you want to start by talking about this, because I got nothing, man.
We can talk about the top few teams.
Yeah.
I guess if we're starting.
I guess on that, like, even in our preview, I highly underestimated how strong Red Bull would be. I didn't think they would be as strong as they were. Like, they were.
Like, I thought they might be solid, but we also, I guess if we talk about Red Bull as a team, we thought Checo might struggle here.
Yes,
and there wasn't really a sign of that anywhere.
No, it was pretty much formality for Red Bull this weekend.
The fight for the rest of the field wasn't bad. I guess Mercedes started off stronger than they thought, and even though they weren't necessarily topping, like they kind of were, but I guess they're more just in practice trim.
Yeah.
They sounded pretty elated because
Yeah.
I think, as everyone did, we thought they might be coming here and struggling to even get a
Yes.
point, and yet
And it ended up that way.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily smash it out of the park, but they still seemed a lot more confident than they thought. I guess going through the other teams, look, Ferrari, I mean, again, we saw signs pretty comprehensively have a cleaner weekend than Leclerc. I guess Leclerc did have the upper hand, but kind of stuffed up himself partway through, going wide, defending against... was it Checo coming back through? I think it was.
Yes,
was
it was Checo and then Norris behind as well. But
yes,
he was
put him right in the firing line for Norris.
He was going long on the one-stop strategy, which I think he was the only one to make work. Mercedes did try it, and they were just like, the tires just aren't lasting. I think Leclerc actually had probably like one of the, out of all the drivers, he probably had the best race. Like making a one-stop work, like he extended that. I say one-stop. We're not counting the red flag. We'll get to that. A one-stop race. I think the fact that he made that work, the stint that he did on those mediums on that first stint, he was able to hold where other drivers, even on the hard tires, would just hit a cliff and just plummet. He was able to consistently put in lap times and hold drivers behind at bay that were coming through on fresher tires, like a lot better than everyone else. So I think that's credit to his strategy. He probably wouldn't have needed to do that if he had just qualified higher. And this is actually something I'm noticing with Ferrari, which is it's completely flipped from last year. They've actually gone the kind of the Red Bull route. Well, they'll, I guess, sacrifice a little bit in qualifying, but their race trim is very, very strong this year. But they're sacrificing qualifying, and somewhere like Suzuka, you can't really afford to do that. Especially, you're starting P8. He got to P4, which I think is a hell of an effort on a one-stop strategy, which is not really the favourable strategy, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So,
and it was a 3-4 for the team, so you could say in the end they did get there, but they weren't really close to the top. So I guess if they are trying to actually fight Red Bull, they need to be starting 3-4 and then have the best chance of it. It seems like McLaren gets more of a sniff of that, but then they really don't have the race pace against either team where you get some of that back and forth.
That's the thing. Like we were talking about in the preview about how this will expose teams that don't have a complete car. Or just don't have a complete package. And you can see that Red Bull can get a lot of pace over one lap and a lot of pace in the race and a lot of pace through traffic. They just fast everywhere, whereas every other team has some kind of sacrifice, and a pretty big sacrifice. You know, McLaren had really good one lap pace and then just couldn't pull it off in the race. And Mercedes, they said that their first stint on the hard tire was just like they just had no idea where their pace went, but their second and third stints, or their second stint on the hard tire, was like comparable to McLaren and Ferrari. So when their car's heavy on that tire, they just, for whatever reason, just can't, they lose all their aero or something. I don't know. They don't really understand it themselves. Yeah. So like every team has this pretty significant sacrifice, and then Red Bull's just like, we'll just keep going and being quick, like the quickest of every category. And I just underestimated.
Set that benchmark and push it even higher. It's
quite crazy.
Witness and glory.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I really don't even know where to go here. Like, I guess we could talk about...
Well, as a summary, as we say, the fight for the rest, I think, was pretty interesting. Yeah. I know I had a few mates telling me that they quite enjoyed that fight, particularly for P3, and even having the Ferraris fighting a little bit, but Sainz getting past, and even the Russell fighting Piastri, which wasn't that bad.
That was interesting because I think Piastri made a mistake on the just before the final lap, like the second last lap coming into the last chicane before the straight. He locked up,
we had Russell kind of half sending it, and then I think that set Piastri off a bit, and obviously sent a message that he was there and he was willing to make a big move. So I guess either one could have come ahead, but it was still, as I say, I think we're maybe over-egging it to say we both just didn't bother with this because it was so bad. Like, it was still fine, but there was less desire to rewatch it and really learn all the details when we kind of looked at the result and went, we kind of just catched up on it all anyway. By looking at a few highlights.
Yeah, that's it. So I think Alonso again did quite well. He's saying apparently is like one of his top 5 races of his career, which
a classic one where Alonso's not on the camera, has to go, oh, you all missed it. It was a top 5. Sure. Another one, add it to the pile.
Yeah, add it to the other 15 that are
add it to the DVD when you retire.
Yeah, which apparently will be never at this stage. So,
yes, true.
I mean, to be fair, on a track where Aston thought they were going to be pretty weak, like they were kind of like Mercedes, they tempered expectations thinking they were going to be pretty weak. Alonso did quite well, particularly in the race. He qualified P5, I think, at race P6,
fairly high up.
I want to say. Yes, P6. So, I think he did quite well. And even Stroll, I know Stroll's another story. He didn't get out of Q1 again. So,
and that set his weekend, regardless of how good his race pace overtaking is.
So, but he did. He could fight through the field, and he made a lot of good moves, particularly through the S's, which is something another driver that got points, Yuki Tsunoda, did quite well. A lot of really good moves around the outside through the S's.
Easily one of the stars of the race.
Has to be
from a whole team perspective. They obviously just hit that car in the right angle. Yeah. He did make some good moves when needed, and he jumped like 2 or 3 cars in the pit stops, and it wasn't even game changing.
Yeah, it wasn't even like in an undercut or an overcut. They all pitted at the same time, and he still jumped them. So, which is impressive. Like, you don't really see that.
Amazing by driver, amazing by team. And as we'll probably get into, we're only talking about 1 of 2 drivers in that car for the second weekend in a row, or maybe the third or the fourth, or I don't know. Where was the other driver? What happened?
It was in the wall. It was in the wall, man. Or it was in the side of another car, and then in the wall.
He's decided that the only way that RB can beat Williams is if they destroy the other chassis and make sure it can't be raced.
Oh my god, yeah. That was the other thing. Sargent had to race the bloody repaired chassis.
Yeah, and then he spinned it. Yep. Luckily didn't break it.
And Ricciardo has then decided he wants to total the other one. So I'm curious how you see that Ricciardo incident, actually, because
it was classic T1 in my opinion.
Okay,
like it wasn't a T1 but lap 1.
Sure. I think I thought he was lucky to get away without any sort of penalty.
I think he could have slapped him, but there's some degree to say Albon maybe like he was kind of risking to stick there. And even if you think about it, like, is he then planning to go around like the outside to the inside? Like maybe, but it's a fairly busy road unless you know someone has no one around them.
Yeah.
Like, yes, in a vacuum, you're allowed to have space there. If you're maybe sim racing, you got your indicators, you can see both of them. But as the commentators found pretty quick, Ricciardo was looking at the inside rather than the outside. And he chose to keep looking on the inside and not consider there was a car on the outside.
Yeah.
So, like, technically, yes, he did cause the accident. But when you look at it bigger picture, it's like, unfortunate. Maybe Albon could have just backed out of it, but you can't really blame him for going for it because it could have worked out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I'm not unhappy that it was racing incident, like you say. It just seems, tight track, especially there. The track does tighten going into the S's, and you don't get 3 cars into there. But
no.
On the other hand, you look at it from a couple of points of view, and you're like, Ricciardo had a lot of space on that inside. I know he was like taking the racing line,
trying to get as much time as possible.
Yeah,
but he also could have gone, there might be someone there. I've not checked to see if there's someone there.
Yeah.
I should just give enough room for the inside, and then even focus, because even if someone is on the outside, you're going through that left-hander. If you're 3 wide, the car on the outside ain't going to be sticking there. They're going to have to back out or fly off. So you can probably assume you can then aim for that right-hand apex.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, how he's kind of considering it. So it's tricky, but then you could argue he's been racing for so long that maybe he should make a better call there. But, I don't think penalty-worthy, but still, he could have maybe, realized it on a different day and not push so hard on the outside.
Yeah, especially considering the circumstances of the question of his seat. Maybe he should... be a little bit more aware of his surroundings and keep it, on the track.
Thank God for that cameraman who was in the garage afterwards, and he was staring at the monitor.
Oh, yeah.
And Lawson was standing behind him menacingly. You could not have got a better shot. Yeah. How beautiful.
Yeah, I did see that one. That was classic. So
somehow the Williams bins have apparently lived, even though they are going through all sorts of torment.
Yeah,
so they will... survive another day.
Yep.
Lucky boys.
Yeah, but they'll probably have to push back their chassis, like their third chassis, their spare chassis. Because it was supposed to time repair. Yeah, I was about to say I think it was supposed to come for China, but now they have to push that back again because they have to repair this one now. So good stuff. Just great stuff.
Good thing that'll be an easy track.
Yeah.
No chance that someone would... No,
we'll get to that. That's next recording.
Yeah. There was a few other things. I guess Hulk had another P11, so he was close.
Yeah.
So credit where it's due. That team again on a track where they really thought we really don't know what we're going to do here. Still seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
I think Magnussen was 13, so not bad.
Yeah, I think Stroll was 11th and like comfortably 11th. Until literally the last lap, he was on the soft tires, and they just absolutely fell off a cliff. And you just see him like a second, and then all of a sudden Magnussen's passed in like half a lap, and you're like, "Oh God, what happened?" And he's like,
so credit.
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. I was just saying credit to Yuki, I guess, that did get that. We talk about those. If any drivers slip down, there's only one position.
Yeah,
but
you said exactly
again,
that.
Haas was close there again.
Yeah.
So
it does seem to be those two teams. It's RB and Haas, which Haas is not a team I expect.
When usually last year might have gone, it'll probably be Albon most times. Whereas they're
not A Williams. You would say Albon. You are correct. Yes.
yes.
But,
but I'm sure there was other things to mention, but as we said, look, we're keeping it pretty short.
Yeah.
Apologies if you did want a deeper debrief. I'm sure there are plenty of channels that we would recommend that have done good. I can't even talk. Done good debriefs on this Grand Prix. If you check it out.
Yep.
But we are more looking ahead. Look, we'll have a bit of a longer preview for going back to China. Of course, it's very exciting. And there's even more than usual to talk about as if we didn't have enough. So we're going to save our thoughts, our energy, our time for that one, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you had anything else to cover on this one.
No, it's literally all the notes I had. The only other... we could talk about a couple of other points, like the...
I know.
The Mercedes, the swapping of positions that I think even Hamilton was like... He was like okay with. He basically suggested it, and okay, cool.
Okay.
Sure.
Did they gain much?
Yep.
Maybe, sure, place. Yeah.
They both tried like I said, the one stop. It didn't really work, and then they fell off and got some minor points with McLaren, who fell back. Okay. Yep. Japanese Grand Prix, everyone. That was.
Hope you enjoyed it.
It's a shame because it's such a good track, but it's just. Yeah, for racing, sometimes it just can produce these ones. So, but yeah, going from that, we'll go to China, which is going to be carnage, I'm assuming. So, stay tuned for our preview because, I think that weekend's going to be nuts. But let us know what you thought of the Japanese Grand Prix. If you notice things that maybe we didn't talk about, let us know in the comments. But otherwise, we will see you very soon for the Chinese Grand Prix preview. Take care, everyone.
Ciao.